The Basin's Real Rock Station. It's Muttley and my very special guest, Ken Jeong. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anyone who's not familiar with who you are, shame on them. I'm not going to go through the lengthy explanation, but you've only been in 3 of probably the biggest movies ever, Hangover movies. And did you get into this later?
Yeah, I mean, I was a doctor in real life, which is the show Dr. Ken is based on. But 10 years ago, I quit my day job to pursue acting, and Knocked Up was the first role that I did. Actually, I filmed that movie while I had my day job. Then basically, The Hangover happened about a year and a half later. And it's been a very, very weird, atypical, wonderful, happy journey. You know, it's just been, I'm a happy accident. I'm the oops baby of Hollywood careers, you know? And, but no, I'm definitely a late bloomer to the business.
Yeah, and which I'm sure there's people in the business who kind of give you that people who have struggled, for years still trying to make it. But
no, it's funny, like when I was working as a physician, I did do stand-up comedy on the side. So it was like 7 years, like I would just do stand-up comedy like as a hobby. So I would rub elbows with very famous comedians who are now very famous, and like people like Zach Galifianakis who...
Yeah.
When I first moved out to L.A., I would do some open mics and some comedy clubs, and Zach was very big in comedy even at that time. And so I had a working knowledge and had met a lot of great famous comedians. So in the world of stand-up comedy, people know me when I was a doctor, and that I was kind of like, I take some pride that, I was kind of happily paying my dues because I never thought I would kind of go pro. I thought maybe I'd be this... because I was known as, that's that weird doctor that would just occasionally do stand-up, So he seemed like an affable fellow. So I kind of had that kind of rep back in the day. So no one saw this coming, and neither did I. So I think that's kind of the cool part of it.
But I bet it was tough. A lot of guys, they're struggling, like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. You're a doctor, you make money already, so what are you doing? Was there any of that?
I think there's truth to that. I think, comedians are, by and large, at our best, we're really funny, affable people that are life of the party. At our worst, we're really bitter individuals that wish nothing but
ill will.
Nothing but the worst for everybody else in their business. So I do think that there's a bit of that, but I also think that there is a rite of passage in stand-up that I think is very fair. I think that if you're on your way up, if you handle it well, you will be respected on your way down. That's what I've noticed among comedian friends of mine and people that I've seen whose careers have risen up and down over the last 10 years. If you handle yourself with some self-awareness, sometimes good or bad, you don't have control of your career. Sometimes it's for the good. Like the Hangover movies, when that happened, that was out of our controls for the good. And sometimes there are movies that don't do well, and it was like the best thing ever, the best experience ever, but it didn't, let's say, it didn't make a lot of money or even bombed at the box office. Those are out of your control. If you handle them both in similar fashion, then I think in the world of stand-up comedy, you get respect.
Don't be a pompous, condescending ass.
Don't be pompous going up, and don't be so angry going down. I think that's kind of, and it's funny, like you say that, I'm flashing back of, I definitely want to be very self-aware. I am very self-aware about that, where up or down, I would like to remain as consistent as possible. I'm not perfect, obviously, but I would like to remain as consistent as possible.
Yeah, and who knew? I mean, and obviously we want to talk a lot about the show that's on ABC, but who knew the role in The Hangover? As far as the whole movie goes, it was relatively small with the most memorable scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I remember making the movie, telling my wife, she was like, how's it going? And because when I was in Vegas, I said, I think it was the funniest movie I've ever made, I've ever been a part of. I hope people will see it, because it was a low-budget movie, by studio standards. Yeah, no one expected the success that it had.
Is it better working on a television show? I mean, hours are better, you're home at night, those kinds of things. I'm assuming it's truly better for that?
For me, it's a little bit different because I'm wearing about 5 hats on the show, because I'm one of the writers of the show as well as the main executive producers. I'm one of 2 main executive producers on the show. So for me, it's the busiest I've ever been. Even busier than doing movies or being on location. There's a point when I was on Community and doing Hangover 2 and Hangover 3 at the same time, where I'd be in L.A. and fly to Vegas the next day, or fly to Mexico or Nogales, Arizona, where we were filming some of the scenes in Hangover 3. This is busier because I oversee every aspect of production. Everything kind of goes through me on this show. And honestly, it's the most fulfilling experience I've ever had.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's yours.
It's my baby, and I'm very overprotective of it,
Right, you get to put a lot of the creativity into it, and that obviously shows. And were many people surprised that you were really a doctor?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they should be, because it's just weird that Mr. Chow was a doctor in real life. So, but that's my truth. And to me, the show It's a family show, Fridays nights on ABC, 7:30 Central.
Right.
To me, the way I approach the show, writing-wise or production-wise, is like, this is kind of my life if The Hangover never happened. Be kind of a goofy doctor who's a family man, and I kind of write to that.
Hey, you know what? If you're ever on set somewhere, though, and someone gets into an accident, you're there. So you have like dual roles. That's fantastic.
A dual role, a little bit of a, yeah. I'm a lead actor and a dumb medic. Yep.
Any movies in the future?
I've been so busy on the show, like even on weekends, I'm just consumed with the show where either to rewrite the script myself. It's so funny that the show's about medicine and it's becoming as consuming as my medical job back in the day when I was practicing.
It had to have, I left something steady to sort of make that leap. And really, I did it so I could look back at my life, even if I failed, and say, look, I tried that.
That was me. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Which it had to have been tough. You're a doctor.
But I could go back to medicine. It was a no-lose situation. At least that's what I said in my head. Was like, It's no-lose. If it didn't work out, it's okay, but I had peace of mind that I tried it. That was burning in my mind 10 years ago. That was so important to me to do that. So
yeah, that's awesome, because you don't want to look back at life. And even if you hadn't have had the success of all the Hangover movies and this incredible TV show.
It doesn't matter. To me, I mean, it does matter, but it doesn't matter because it's so important that I had the satisfaction that people were like afraid to move to the big city, afraid to move to LA or New York. I considered it was a victory. Like, I made the decision to move to LA to see, if this could happen. So there's a lot of stuff to be proud of that has nothing directly to do with the projects that I've become famous for.
Right.
There's a lot of other victories that are actually more important for me morally, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Ken, thank you very much for joining me on the show today. That was awesome.
Thank you.